Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today, nearly 2 years after its initial reveal in 2023, Bungie has finally revealed raw gameplay, a release date, and much more for their upcoming title, Marathon. Now, I was fortunate enough to have received a supply drop this past week from the Marathon team, including some awesome swag. Big thank you to the team at Bungie for that. Just to clarify, however, that does not mean that this video is sponsored, and frankly, it didn't need to be, right? Because I was already fully on board the curiosity train when it came to Marathon. Not only do I have some history and a liking to Bungie's past shooters, with countless hours sunk into Destiny 1 back in the day, but I've always found a fascination and a real thrill when it comes to the extraction shooter genre, whether it be the Dark Zone in The Division, the game and franchise in which I cover on this channel. I've played my fair share of Hunt Showdown over the years, done a good amount of playtesting for Exoborn in the past 12 months. This is a genre that hooked me a long time ago. And so for Bungie to now be taking their swing at a AAA extraction shooter experience exclusively on next-gen hardware and PC, sign me up. Now, the game has seen a lot of turmoil over the past 2 years since its reveal. There were countless rumors about roadblocks being hit during development. There have been a series of layoffs continuing to happen at Bungie. The game's director got swapped out back in 2023. There's been mixed reception from the Destiny community. And so with all of that in mind, I was certainly very curious to see how Marathon weathered the storm. But the Bungie showcase went down earlier today. I watched through it, took my notes, and in this video, I want to break down and analyze everything that we learned. And so, without further ado, here's a first look at Marathon. Alright, well let's just hit some of the important points that they announced off the bat, shall we? Marathon has an official release date. It launches on September 23rd, 2025, which means within 6 months you can be playing this game. That is pretty wild. Additionally, however, a closed alpha test under NDA is going to be starting later this month on April 23rd, so you might not have to wait that long to get in. Marathon is going to be a premium model extraction shooter, right? It is not free to play like many others in this genre. That does buck the trend. I hope that helps prevent some of the cheating that we see widespread across many similar extraction shooters, but I'm curious to see how that decision goes over. Getting into the weeds a bit here, let's just be clear off the bat. Marathon does not particularly reinvent the extraction shooter model, right? The overall structure that you're going to see here is fairly similar to the likes of Tarkov and all of those. The difference, I would say, though, is that Marathon is being made for the mainstream market, right? It is going to be on next-gen consoles, and that has raised some questions about the approachability of the game, given extraction shooters can be more hardcore sometimes. And in the showcase, Bungie said they have taken this into consideration. One quote that they gave is that they want to retain the depth of a survival game while bringing the approachability of an action game. To try and attain that goal, they are making a dedicated onboarding experience to help ease people into the genre. They've also got things like supply drops that factions can sponsor you with that give you full loadouts in-game if you're just not having luck on your side. But they are also then bringing in mechanics that introduce that depth to the sandbox. Stuff like the ability to have stopping power rounds on your weapons, which can interrupt sprinting. Certain characters will have a stamina system for their sprinting, and there's plenty more stuff like that that aims to introduce a skill ceiling. But let's get into some of these specifics, shall we? In Marathon, you play as a runner in up to teams of 3. They did confirm that it is possible to matchmake as solo. They did not mention, from what I heard, of if lobby sizes and team sizes are going to try and match what your size is. So it's very possible that if you choose to go in solo, you might be going against teams of 3. However, if you do play on a team, they did confirm that there's no character lock, right? No runner lock. If you all want to stack up as 3 of the same person, you can. In the alpha specifically, they tease that there may be more coming down the line, but there are going to be 4 classes available, those being the Locust, Blackbird, Glitch, and Void. Each of these 4 runners carry a distinct playstyle and a base ability kit. So for example, they said Void is a very stealth-based character that can literally go invisible, whereas Glitch is a very momentum-based character for a lot of disruption and hit-and-run gameplay. The total amount of players that you can find within a given map depends on the map you're playing. Dire Marsh, which is the one that was featured for most of the video here, has a cap of 18 players, but it's not just other opponents that you're going to be running into. Of course, there are PvE enemies that exist as well, each with their own archetypes, abilities, all of that, and that is ultimately the lifeblood of an extraction shooter, right? It's determining that risk versus reward. Do I want to shoot my weapon at this enemy and risk drawing a player? Do I want to take on this mini-boss for that sweet loot that he's going to drop? Even if I get the loot, am I going to be able to extract it? Those are all questions that you're going to be asking yourself. They did confirm that a faction and contract system is in place for you to grab regular objectives, and these let you score reputation and money with those various factions. And a neat detail is that you don't necessarily have to extract to complete and get the rewards for those things. So even though death is going to result in loot loss of all the stuff you have on your character, character, you can still make progress if you're focusing on those contracts. Runs out in the world do have a time limit, right? They confirm that, so there's going to be a lot of pressure-cooked unpredictability in that window of time. That includes stuff like dynamic weather and events. They put a big emphasis on the amount of hidden loot rooms and different puzzles that you can find in the various maps. And then beyond that, of course, there's going to be tons and tons of loot. A few categories they listed off were weapons, backpacks, materials, mods, augments, valuables, and more. Speaking of mods, it was a big debate for the last 2 years, partly sparked by rumors on if Marathon would be more of a hero shooter style of game or lean more into the RPG side of things in terms of the gameplay format. What we've seen today is kind of a blend of both, right? You do have your predetermined runner classes, but there seems to be pretty deep customization that you can take with those. That comes in the form of stuff like weapon mods. There's also these things called cores they talked about, which can augment your runner abilities. Sometimes these will be more broad, like just giving you cooldown reduction, whereas you can find ones tuned for specific runners that, for example, if your Void character had a double jump, that would suddenly make it a triple jump. You could get one for the Locust that reduces how quickly your heat meter charges while you're sprinting. So I really do think that depth in build crafting should aid the replayability and longevity of Marathon. On that note, they did also confirm that the game is going to run with a seasonal format, and each new season is going to bring in new endgame challenges. It's going to refresh the ranked play side of the game, which yes, they did confirm that Marathon will have ranked play. I think that's probably going to be a very big factor for veteran and hardcore players staying engaged, and each new season is going to push the story and narrative forward. Despite this being a PvP focused game, they do seem to be investing a lot into the overall lore and story. They even showed off a huge CGI production towards the end of the showcase. So as far as game details and overall stuff, that is more or less it for the recap. Some individual notes that I jotted down that I thought were interesting. They did confirm that stuff like pings and shared objectives in contracts is going to be a feature, which is great for team play. There are things you can discover such as gold mods, and they said this is essentially their equivalent of exotics from games like Destiny or The Division. Again, I think that will really help build crafting soar and be more interesting. Another neat component that you don't always see from games like this, but Bungie does have a tendency to do this in Destiny, for example. There are different gameplay moments where you will switch between first and third person. Notably, there seems to be this force shield ability that you'll see people pull out, and that can then serve as a third person gameplay tool. But I'm sure that is just scratching the surface, right? There is still going to be lots to uncover with this game leading up to launch. And speaking of launch, I am very surprised by the September release date. There were rumors going around that this game was going to slip into 2026, and so for them to commit to a release date today, in April, maybe that says something as far as Bungie's confidence in the title. Folks, that is just about all I have for you in this video, taking a look at the gameplay reveal for Marathon. I would love to get your guys' thoughts and reactions to whatever you're thinking after seeing this. As I said in the intro, Marathon has been a very controversial title since its reveal back in 2023. So what do you think now that we have a bit more to chew on? If you want a chance to play Marathon soon, then be sure to sign up for the closed alpha. I believe you can head into Marathon's Discord server to try and make that happen. I'm certainly hoping to get in there. This looks pretty fun. If you have any thoughts or feedback on the video, I would love to hear that as well. And if you're interested in seeing me potentially covering more of Marathon moving forward, then let me know. I'm certainly open to it. That's going to do it for me today, though. Thank you all very much for stopping by. Hopefully I'll see you back soon. RogueGold out.